WWE's Performance Center Mania is 18 days away, and we've kind of been off for a few weeks just because of this coronavirus, and basically been in a holding pattern over the past few weeks to see if the NXT show would go on, if the Hall of Fame would go on, if anything would go on with everywhere across the world right now being affected with the coronavirus. In fact, every single state in the United States is affected with this virus. As of yesterday, I think last night, West Virginia was the last state to have a case of the coronavirus. Which, if you think about all the states, that was the last place I would think that would happen. But if you think about maybe smaller states, that would make sense in a way. However, much like many things, the show must go on. But for other places like New Japan, they've canceled their entire New Japan Cup. They've canceled months upon months of shows. TNA has canceled Lockdown. Have canceled their I would say TNA, but Impact have canceled their TNA one night only special. Have kind of a TNA reunion show. They've canceled Lockdown. Rebellion maybe next. The NBA, the XFL, the NHL. I mean, probably Canadian Football League is next. Even they're still going. The NFL possibly could happen. Basically, all sports and entertaining shows, and all forms of entertainment shows, even the Tonight Show, even many other places have been canceled. Even places of work have been canceled. Till maybe April, maybe May, except for those people that are really needed to be there on a daily basis to help others figure out what's going on. It's a very weird time in our world. But one constant is the WWE. And for the past few weeks, we have seen shows at the Performance Center for NXT, and honestly, for NXT was just because Full Sail couldn't have the show for that night. Nothing related to the coronavirus at all. We had a bunch of fans in there, I think last week on NXT. And then all this started happening to where WrestleMania was canceled or removed from the arena in Tampa. To where people were thinking, okay, is going to be postponed till June in, say, Madison Square Garden, because that would make sense. But no. As we said at the beginning, this is Performance Center Mania. So WrestleMania will take place at the Performance Center. Which, at first, I just laughed at this because this was just incredible that Vince is so hard-headed that you want to have your grandest stage show of the year. Don't want to postpone anything. Wrestling must go on. We saw Owen Hart die and a show went on. We saw fucking bombings and a show went on. We saw bombings in London and tours still went on. We saw several things happen, and the show will always go on. And in this trying time of our world, we need something like this. So as much as I don't agree with it, I would love to see pyro being shot off the top of the Performance Center. Otherwise, I would see this as a failure, regardless of what happens on this card. But since this is now a new event, people have called this Corona Mania. People have called this Performance Center Mania. People have called this just empty arena night. Because as you've seen on Raw and SmackDown over the past few nights, there has been no crowds. There's been nobody except the people necessarily needed to run that show, which honestly makes it interesting because it makes the people better. It makes the people, honestly, it gives them essentially practice to how to call a match, how to be a ring general, how to do more things in the ring that they've probably never done in years. And this is a great night for that, honestly. And then looking at this card for Performance Center Mania, it is a great match. And it's probably the only Performance Center Mania we'll ever have. But damn it, we need to have it in the Performance Center every year. This is what should happen. This is what should happen. Make them actually wrestle. Make them actually learn things. Make them actually go back to basics. This is what needs to happen, honestly, in my opinion. But on the same token, you could give Tampa WrestleMania next year, WrestleMania 38, and give LA a WrestleMania 39. That would be the only logical thing. If you're going to move it to, say the Garden, that would be the only thing that would make sense to give them WrestleMania next year to make up for this, because this was, if Vince was having his way, he was going to have it in the fucking stadium in front of 80,000 empty seats. He was going to have 80,000 people in that stadium. That's a risk we cannot have in this event. You know, there's places where they can't even have 50 people. They can't even have 20 people. They can't even have 10 people at a time in some places now, which that would greatly exceed that limit. But with that being said, let's go over this card, because Performance Center Mania could be the only Performance Center Mania in history, but it will be the greatest Performance Center Mania in history. I would expect a fucking 15-hour Performance Center Mania. Why not at this point? You have to do something. And something they have truly done. Especially with these matches. First off, Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins. This match, basically, the Monday Night Messiah gave Owens the option to name the place, name the time, and they can have a match. Owens, as of Raw, name the place, name the time. It will be at Performance Center Mania in the Performance Center. And this will be a great match. This could be the opener of the show. I don't think we're going to add any more matches. This could be the full card. We don't know. But honestly, if it is, this is a great card so far from what we're seeing. And I really don't know. We've seen these guys fight so many times that this could be the piss break for some people. This could be the match of the year for some people. It really depends on how you look at it. And honestly, as much as I would think Kevin Owens would win this, you need to keep the Messiah's momentum going. They recently lost the tag titles against the Street Profits. They need to have the momentum going in some way, shape, or form. And I would feel the Messiah wins this match and has a sermon of the Book of Rollins that we desperately need in this trying time, in this desperate need of people needing a role model, needing something to happen. They need to hear a sermon from the Book of Rollins. That's what has to happen in this world right now. Next up, the NXT Women's Championship is Rhea Ripley defends against Charlotte. Charlotte won the Royal Rumble. This was a Mania match made well in advance, but now it's a Performance Center Mania match. And honestly, it's a better place for them, honestly, because Charlotte, one of the first classes of the Performance Center at that time. This is now a homecoming for her as of late. This is a perfect setting to cap off an amazing career and just storybook it all into one. Rhea Ripley was great in the Mae Young Classic, was great in NXT UK, and has made the Performance Center kind of her second home now. And with these travel bans and all these things, we don't even know if she's here in the States full time, if she can even make it to the show. Because of the restricted travel bans and, restrictions of travel all across the country, across the world even. There's places in several countries, even the United Kingdom, the EU, Japan, China, obviously. But there's several places where people cannot travel by planes or anything. Even people are traveling with the fucking virus, and they've got the whole plane infected. People don't care anymore. It's sad. But, not saying that these people have it. It's just, it's a risk you have to take. It's a risk we have nowadays, and it's a risk we have to take. But as far as this match goes, I really don't know. Because would you really put Charlotte back on NXT on a full-time basis? Would you have her win and just be in NXT now? Because that's what's going to happen. I mean, I don't really see them bringing the NXT title on a weekly basis to Raw or SmackDown. It makes no sense. It makes no sense to do that unless you're making a prominent space for it. It just makes no sense to do that. Next up, the Raw Women's Championship is the man defends against Shayna Baszler. Baszler won the Elimination Chamber match in a dominating fashion, the most dominant Elimination Chamber match I have ever seen in my life. To where we have had Shayna Baszler, Shayna Baszler, basically channeling the late classy Freddie Blassie. And what I mean by that is Shayna biting into the neck of the man Becky Lynch to where Becky is bleeding, to where you can see the blood on the teeth of Shayna Baszler, to where back in the day, Freddie Blassie, especially in LA, in several places in Japan, was biting people's necks to where he was, the Japanese gave him somewhat of a Dracula-like aura, to where he was just biting his opponents, just biting them constantly, whether it was part to get heat or just for the hell of it. You know, it really pays to look back at wrestling, especially when Shayna was trained by Billy Robinson in catch wrestling. So you have that knowledge of the old school, and all of that came into play recently, a couple weeks ago on Raw. And I feel like for Becky to lose after a year-long dominance, after the rise of the man, after the rise to the top of the man, to beat Ronda Rousey, to give her only loss in WWE, and we haven't seen her since then. You have to build something up like that. You have to give someone a dominating run like that. And I feel if this was to happen, this would be the time to do it, that Shayna would become the new Raw Women's Champion and, officially be a part of the main roster. We haven't seen her actually called up yet. It's just her doing what she wants to do, which is great. But this would be the perfect time to take the title off the man. If you were going to do it, this would be the time to do it. Next up, John Cena versus The Fiend. Of course, The Fiend lost the title to Goldberg. Just enough said about that. It was a ridiculous decision. Saudi Arabia does crazy things with people sometimes. That's what you have to do. To build a show, to build a card, you have to do it, and I don't like it. But it makes sense in a way. Because WrestleMania all those years ago, Bray Wyatt had all the potential in the world. And then was beaten by John Cena, and then he's kind of been in the slump we've seen ever since. He was kind of in that slump even before then, but still. And if anything, without Cena doing what he did, we wouldn't have The Fiend. And Cena wasn't going to be a part of WrestleMania until The Fiend just made this happen. This could be the match of the night for sure. This is a sleeper pick of mine for sure to be the match of the night. And we'll see what happens with this, but I feel like if this was going to be Cena's last match, it'd be a hell of a way to have his final match at the Performance Center. A center that was not even in existence when he started. Keep in mind, Cena was still in OVW when he started around. It was even there was some places in California, UPW. That's going way back. But for Cena to end his career in a Performance Center, an empty Performance Center, mind you, would be fitting. I don't know if this would be his last match, but if it was, this was more likely going to be his last match. I would feel like if it is, The Fiend wins it. The Fiend becomes what he should be and should have an aura of himself. We go from that to The Undertaker versus AJ Styles, a match I never thought would ever happen. The match I never thought I would see, but definitely want to see now. Even with these circumstances, this will be a shorter match than expected because we saw on Raw how short the ramp at the Performance Center is. So it'll be a shorter entrance from Taker, probably the shortest entrance of his career. Unless he just draws it out, does half a step every minute or something. But, you bring a man's wife into this. You bring family into this. Something you just don't do. And I feel like this could be the passing of the torch for AJ Styles. This could be a moment where he becomes something bigger by beating The Undertaker. I don't know if it'll happen, But I feel like if this was going to happen, this would be the match to do it. Ironically, Undertaker in the Performance Center, again, never happened before. Never had a match in the Performance Center. Performance Center wasn't even a thing when he started back then. So it's a trying tale of our last two matches. If these were their last matches, this would be a fitting way to go out and to have as a reference material for future stars that go to the Performance Center, that go to places like this as a reference material. It'd be a great thing. As we said before, the new Universal Champion Goldberg faces Roman Reigns in the match nobody wanted. No one wanted this. If you wanted this, you're a liar. I'm telling you right now, this is a match that will be a piss break for sure. Roman wins because it's Roman. That's simple. I don't see Goldberg holding the title for long, but it's good to see the blue strap. To finally see the blue strap on it makes it a much better looking title. A much better looking title than the red belt, the period stained red belt. It just pops out more, in my opinion, with the blue belt. I like it. And finally, the main event, the biggest thing to ever happen. Brock Lesnar competing in the Performance Center. I have to say that again. Brock Lesnar competing in the Performance Center. It is stuff that we would never see and will probably never see again against Drew McIntyre. And it's a weird thing for McIntyre. You go around, you were in WWE, you were made the chosen one. You were made something that could be the future of this company. Then it doesn't pan out. You become free on B. You get released. You make a tear on the indie scene. You make a tear on TNA when it was still TNA and you had barely any people in there. The crowds weren't that great to begin with. You go to the indie scene. You go to WCPW. You go to Defiant Wrestling. You make it a national brand. You go around to ICW. You go to all over the places, making every territory you go to your own. And now it goes full circle. You go back to WWE. You do all the things you need to do. And you get this. What could have been a hero's welcome in front of an international crowd. What could have been just storybooking it all together. Just encasing it into one thing. Could have been a hero's welcome in front of an international audience. An audience that cares about this man. And now it's an empty arena match, basically. Because of this coronavirus, it has ruined what would have been a career-defining moment for Drew McIntyre, a moment he could look back on and say that was his crowning achievement. That was his greatest moment. Now it is destroyed and put in a historic match where Brock Lesnar will compete in the Performance Center. That is the story of this match. That's the only thing that will come out of this match is that Brock Lesnar competed in the Performance Center. The anomaly of that alone would make people tune in to see, is he actually going to do it? Will Brock actually fucking do this? And sure enough, he will. Unless it gets delayed till June and goes to the Garden, like we said before. But, again, regardless of what's going on, you need to have that happy ending moment, to have that fairy tale ending, to make people feel better in this world about what's going on. And as much as I'd like to see Brock Lesnar dominate and just look on the sea of empty chairs in bewilderment, it would be just incredible in that alone. But you need to have something done. You need to have something that makes people happy. And this would make people happy. Drew McIntyre becomes the champion. And then imagine the reaction on international tours. Imagine the reaction he gets when all of this goes away, when this coronavirus is gone. Hopefully soon, but when it's gone. Think about the moment that he gets out of this. The international reaction in Scotland would be deafening. In the United Kingdom would be incredible. In Ireland would be great. In all over the world, really. a man that was made the chosen one, finally fulfills the prophecy. It would be a great moment. But again, it's in the Performance Center. It's Performance Center Mania. If we do not see pyro shot off the top of a Performance Center like I said before, this will look like a failed experiment to me. This will be a failure if this does not happen, to have celebratory pyro off the top of the Performance Center to cap off an incredible night, a historic night, a night that will probably only happen once in our lifetimes. It'd be a great moment. But Performance Center Mania, April 5th. The show must go on.